Rambam. We begin today the 13th out of 14 books. We begin Sefer Mishpatim, the laws of judgments.
What's separation?
Schiris, rentals.
Sorry?
Rentals.
Oh.
Rental, well, we'll see. Okay. We are in the book of judgment. We're in the laws of Schiros, chapter 1, in the name of the Lord, the God of the world. I shall thank you with an upright heart when I learn the judgments of your righteousness. Mishpat, Sefer Mishpat, the 13th book, the book of judgments, Mishpatim. They contain 5 sets of halachas, and their order is the laws of Schiros. Interesting that it doesn't translate it here. Huh? Yeah, so it's about a hired a worker and a paid watchman. Okay. The laws of Sheila Bakadain. Sorry, 1 second. No. So rentals and employee relations, employer-employee relations is okay. The laws of Sheila Bakadain are laws that govern borrowing and entrusted objects. Okay. Hilchos Malva Veloive, laws pertaining to lenders and borrowers. And Hilchos Toim V'Nitten are laws about disputes between plaintiff and the defendant. And the laws of Nachlos, the laws pertaining inheritance. Okay? Got it?
I remember this.
That's good. Okay, in Hilchos Schiros, it contains 7 mitzvahs, 3 positive and 4 negative. They are the laws governing the hired worker and a paid watchman. 2, to pay a worker and wages when due. 3, not to delay payment of worker's wage after it falls due. 4, for a worker to be allowed to eat from the produce with which he is working. 5, the worker is not to eat from the produce at the time that he should be working. And 6, the worker not to take more than what he eats. And 7, not to muzzle an ox while threshing. These mitzvahs are explained in the following chapters.
4 and 3.
Okay. So chapter 1, halacha 1. The Torah mentions 4 types of watchmen, and they are governed by 3 different rules. 4 types of watchmen are an unpaid watchman, right? So I'm asking you to be a guard over my phone. I'm going away, right? Whatever. A borrower is also a watchman because you got to watch over what you're borrowing. So you got to watch over it, right? And a paid watchman, also, he's getting paid for watch. And a renter is also a watchman, right? You rented something. So they are 4 different types of watchmen, but 3 different rulings for them, as we'll see. These are 3 rules that govern cases involving these watchmen. When a entrusted article is stolen from or lost by an unpaid watchman, and needless to say, when the entrusted article is destroyed by forces beyond the watchman's control, example is an animal, it was an animal and it died or was taken captive, the watchman must take an oath that he guarded the article in a manner appropriate for the watchman, and then he is freed from liability. As the verse says, and it was stolen from the man's home, and the homeowner shall approach the judges, right? In other words, the plaintiff is coming against the defendant, right? The watchman. He's an unpaid watchman. So he only has to take an oath, right? That it was stolen from me, or right, or got lost, not in a manner that he was negligent. And then he is pater, meaning he's not obliged for anything, right? Now we have a second level, a borrower, right? He's the opposite extreme from the unpaid watchman. Unpaid watchman has nothing, right? Unpaid watchman has nothing to benefit from watching over the article. So he's least responsible, right? The borrower is most responsible because the giver has nothing out of this except doing a kindness, but nothing, in any financial way or in any benefit, right? So the borrower is most responsible, right? Because he has a full gain from this. Got it?
At no cost.
So a borrower must make restitution in all instances, whether he borrowed the object was lost, stolen, or destroyed by factors beyond his control. A borrowed animal died, was injured, or taken captive, right? For with regard to a borrower, if it becomes injured or dies when its owner is not with him, he must certainly make restitution. Okay. Now we have a paid watchman. So a paid watchman
And the renter.
and a renter are governed by the same laws. Yes. So a paid watchman, both parties have some benefit, right? The watchman has a benefit because he is getting paid. But then the one who gave it to him also has a benefit because something of his is being watched. He needs that. The renter also both ways. There's benefit both ways, right? The renter has got this object that he's renting. And the one who rented to him has got a benefit because he got paid. Right? So there you have the same law. If the article was rented or was entrusted for a fee, was lost or stolen, they must make restitution. If the article was stolen by forces beyond the watchman's control, right, an animal died, was injured, or taken captive, or was attacked by a wild animal, the watchman is required to take an oath, and then he is freed from liability. No, it's not the same because because if it's lost or stolen, he has to make restitution. If you're an unpaid watchman, you don't make restitution. I'm just showing you the distinction, right? So, animal died or is injured, taken out of him. So he's required to take an oath to free of liability. If it died or was injured or taken captive and there was no witness, an oath by God, right? That's what the verse says, between them. If it was stolen from him, he shall make restitution to the owner. Okay. Thus, an unpaid watchman takes an oath in all instances, right? Because this way he becomes, by taking the oath, that he wasn't negligent, then he doesn't have to pay in any instance, right? A borrower makes restitution in all instances, except when the animal dies performing the labor for which it was borrowed, as will be explained, right? And a paid watchman and a renter make restitution when the article is stolen or lost, and take an oath only when it was destroyed by forces beyond their control, was injured, taken captive, died, attacked by beasts, lost in a ship or sank at sea, seized by armed thieves, or lost in any other major matter over which the watchman has no control. Okay?
Owner watch is responsible for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's not negligent.
Well, if it's lost, it means he's not paying attention to it.
No, that doesn't mean you're negligent. No.
Okay.
If you're negligent, yes, it doesn't necessarily mean you're negligent.
Okay.
Okay. 3. The following rules apply when a person entrusts an article to a colleague for safekeeping, whether he offers payment or not, or lends an article or hires it out. If the watchman also asks the owner of the article to work for him or hires him together with the article, the watchman is never held liable at all because the owner is there with him, together with him, right? Even if the watchman is negligent in his care of the article he is watching, or it is lost because of negligence, he's not liable. So if his owner is with him, he need not make restitution. If he is a hired worker, it comes with the wages. So when does the above apply? Right? In other words, we're saying that the guy who lent him the article is with him at that time, right? So he explains. When the watchman asks or a hired owner, hired the owner to work at the time that he took the article, even if the owner was not with him at the time the article was stolen, lost, or destroyed by forces beyond his control. But he's working with him. He wasn't there at the exact time. That doesn't matter. He's not responsible. If, by contrast, he took the article and became responsible. In other words, the key point over here is that when I took the object, right, from the person, I said, I want you to be there with me. I'm hiring you at the same time.
Okay.
It has to be both at the same time. They came together. In other words, in that hiring of that person or being there with the person was part and parcel of the agreement of taking the article. But if it's two separate things, in other words, I'm borrowing this, and then I come an hour later or whatever, and I say, oh, by the way, I want you to also be there with me, then no, because then at the time that I took this, I took full responsibility. You were not part of the responsibility, right? You were not included. If I include you in the responsibility because I say, no, I want you to be there with me, I'm hiring you to do right, with me, so then it's part and parcel that I didn't take the full responsibility. Okay. If by contrast, so this is what he's saying, if he took the article and became responsible as a watchman at the outset and afterwards asked or hired the owner to work, he is not absolved of responsibility. Even the owner was standing nearby at the time of the entrusted article was destroyed by forces beyond the watchman's control. The watchman is liable to pay, as implied. If the owner is not with him, he must certainly make restitution. Okay, according to the oral tradition, these verses were interpreted to mean if the owner was with the borrower at the time of the article or the animal was borrowed, he is not liable, right? You're there with me. I borrowed it with the idea that you're with me with this. That's how it's understood. If it was not with him at the time that it was stolen or died, even if it was, even if the time that this was stolen, the guy who it belongs to was not there,
They may be-
but they made the agreement as such, so then he's still not liable. If, however, he was not with the borrower at the time of the article was borrowed, he's liable. But if he, at the time that he borrowed, right, he wasn't with him. In other words, that was not part of the agreement, right? So then he is liable, even if he was there at the time that it was stolen or died. The same laws apply to other watchmen. If the owners are with them, they are free of liability, even if they are negligent. If the owners are with them, they are free of all liability. Again, this is not,
Makes sense.
well, yes and no. It's not based on sense. It's based because the verse says it. Because the verse says clearly if the owner is not with him. How do we understand what those words mean? The owner not with him, meaning because you could understand it only with him when the thing happened, right? That it was stolen, and maybe it's only stolen, maybe not negligence. Like, where do you give the parameter to that? So the oral tradition understands it this way, even though when you would look at the words, you might understand it differently. But this is the way the sages understood these words, right? So that becomes the parameter of the law. That it's at the time of borrowing or taking upon, being a watchman or whatever the case may be, you made up that you're going to be together with it, right? Yeah, and either I'm like hiring. Oh, I'm borrowing this, but I'm hiring you at the same time. You're going to work in my house, whatever. So that's basic. Okay.
As long as the owner is with him, no matter what.
But he didn't have to be there even in the time. No, it's only with them in the time, and that's the important over here, is only in the time of when he made up that I'm borrowing this. The two things are simultaneously happen at the same time. I'm borrowing this, and you're coming along with this.
But if you don't make the agreement and the owner is with him, is he still liable?
No, if he didn't, if he's with him just because he happenstance to be with him, no, he's not liable.
Exactly.
I mean, he is liable. Sorry, then the borrower is liable totally.
Even when he's with the lender.
Yeah, that was the whole point. With means with at the time that you made when you took when you borrowed the thing. You made that up. In other words, you made up two things at the same time. If you made them up separately, then when I borrowed this with the entire responsibility that comes with borrowing this. Right? But if I borrow this, and at the same time I'm saying I'm hiring you, so then then the verse is saying, right, that you're with this, so then you don't have the responsibility.
All under the same umbrella.
Whenever a watchman is negligent, when he begins caring for the article, even though the article is ultimately destroyed by forces beyond his control, he is liable, as will be explained. Right? Because if it's beyond his control, then he's not liable. Right? But if he is negligent, he is liable. So the question is, what happens if two things came together? He was negligent, but in the end, it wasn't his negligence that made that he lost the thing. It was forces beyond his control. Thieves came, right? Robbers came, whatever. A borrower is not, as will be explained. A borrower is not allowed to lend the entrusted article to another person. Second.
The third person involved.
A borrower is not allowed to lend an entrusted article to another person, even if the borrower borrows a Torah scroll, in which instance anyone who reads it performs a mitzvah. He may not lend it to someone else, right? Because it was only, it was only lent to him. Similarly, a renter is not permitted to rent the entrusted article to another person. Similar idea. Even if the Torah scroll was rented to him, he may not rent it to someone else. The rationale is the owner will tell the watchman, I did not want my article to be in someone else's hands. I only rented it to you. Following rules apply if the watchman transgressed and entrusted the article to another watchman. And to another watchman. If there are witnesses who testify that the second watchman guarded the article in an appropriate manner, the article was destroyed by forces beyond the control of the first watchman is not liable. For there are witnesses that the article was destroyed by forces beyond his control.
No witnesses.
1 second. So we only had about a borrower and a renter.
Mm-hmm.
But a watchman, hold on 1 second. If there are no witnesses to give such testimony, the first watchman is liable to pay the owners, for he entrusted the article to another watchman. Afterwards, he should enter into litigation with the second watchman. Even if the first watchman was not paid for his services and he entrusted the article to a paid watchman, he is liable. For the owner of the article will tell him, although you are an unpaid watchman, you are trustworthy in my eyes. I'm willing to believe your oath. I don't consider the other person trustworthy. For this reason, if the owner of the article would frequently entrust articles of this nature to the second watchman, the first watchman is not required to make restitution. For he could tell the owner, yesterday you were willing to entrust the article that you entrusted to me to this person, right? So then he wouldn't be responsible. If the above instance, the watchman is freed of liability only when he does not reduce the level of responsibility for watching the article. What is meant by reducing the level of responsibility for watching the article? For example, the article was entrusted to the first watchman for a fee, and he entrusted it to the second watchman without charge, right? Or the first one was a borrower and he entrusted to a paid watchman, right? That's an upgrade. In both instances, the second watchman is an upgrade. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
One is equal, one is up.
yeah, it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade, the second one, right? In such instances, since the watchman reduced the level of responsibility for watching the article, upgrade meaning less responsibility. Yeah, upgrade in guarding it, which means less responsibility, right?
Responsibility for this watch.
Less responsibility to the second watchman. Because the first guy is not getting paid. Second watchman's getting paid, right? Here, someone gave me an article. He gave me to watch this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for free. Now, I gave it to someone else to watch it, and I paid him. So that's an upgrade in responsibility, in not in upgrade in the responsibility as a result, right?
That's what I understand.
Huh?
That I can see.
Right. It's an upgrade in responsibility.
It says that the first watch was entrusted to the first watchman for a fee, and he entrusted it to the second watchman without charge.
Oh, 1 second. I'm sorry. I did the wrong. I did the opposite. Wait a second.
For example,
Well, okay. The first one is for a fee, and the second without charge. Okay, one second. I'm sorry. So the first one, oh, wait, it's a downgrade. Then I made it. I'm sorry. He's reducing responsibility.
and then the first watchman was a borrower, and he entrusted it to a paid watchman.
Right.
So the first case is watchman to watchman, but then there was a borrower to a watchman.
What is meant to reducing the level? No, okay, okay. So the first one is for a fee, the second one is without a fee. Right. Okay. First one is a borrower, and then is a paid watchman. In such instances, since the watchman reduce the level of responsibility for the watching of the article, reduce the responsibility. Okay. But there's two ways on there's two sides of a coin, right? So I was saying the other side of the coin. Reducing it vis-a-vis the lender, right? So now that you're without charge means you have less responsibility to the lender. He is considered as to be negligent and he's required to pay. In both instances, there's a negligence over here because because the lender had a better had more responsibility from you to begin with, right? Because you're a paid watchman, you have more responsibility. The above applies even if the article was originally entrusted. The owner was working for or hired by the first watchman. For the watchman, remove the entrusted article from his domain and entrust it to another watchman. Okay. If the second watchman was able to bring proof that he would free the first watchman from responsibility for guarding the article, he's not liable. What is implied? The paid watchman trusted an animal that was entrusted to him to an unpaid watchman, right? So the unpaid is less responsible now, right? If the second watchman brought witnesses to testify that the animal died in a natural manner, the first watchman is not liable, right? Why? Because if it died by him, he would also not be by natural manner. He would also not be liable. Same principles apply in analogous situations. When a watchman, number 6, when a watchman entrusted an animal, entrusted to him, to another watchman, and increased the responsibility of the watchman, and the animal died, the owner receives the benefit.
From the second guy.
What is implied? Okay, he says, a person rents a cow, right, from a colleague, and then lends it to another person. So lending, you're more responsible, right, than renting. Afterwards, the cow dies in an ordinary manner in the possession of the borrower. right? Which means since the borrower is required to make full restitution, he must return the worth of the cow to its owner. For the renter is not carrying out business with his colleague's cow. Similar principle apply in analogous situations. Okay. The following rules apply when a person was in possession of an entrusted object belonging to a colleague and gave it to another person to bring it to its owner. Since the first watchman is responsible for the article until it reaches the owner's domain, if he desires to retrieve the article from the second watchman, he may. In other words, here, I'm interested with this, and I want to bring it. I want to give it back to Menachem Hillel. It's his, right? And I gave you to bring it back to him. I'm responsible until it gets to him,
I understand.
even though it's on the way to you. So you might think, "Oh, no, I'm responsible." So in the middle of the way, say, "Hey, bring it back," so I can do that, right? Because it didn't reach him yet. If he desires to retrieve the article from the second watchman, he may. If it was established that the first watchman has denied the property was entrusted to him, he cannot retrieve the article from the second watchman, although he remains responsible for the entrusted article. If it is established that the first watchman I don't know what I mean. He denied.
You want me?
No. Not reaching. Oh, he's denying that it, yeah, he's denying that it was ever had it.
Fine.
Yeah. So now he can't retrieve it. Although he remains responsible. Okay. I'll stop here.